Let me tell you why you're here.
I've seen things.
Oh my god.
Whoa, yeah! You don't stop and look around once in a while, you could miss it.
Guaranteed to jack you up.
Yo, what is going on, my dudes? It's your host, LamarStaysWeird, coming to you once again, out of sight, out of mind, with another podcast episode. I announced in my last one that I was going to be covering Nope. It is definitely up there in some of my favorite horror movies in modern time. And I've been a pretty big fan of Jordan Peele for as long as I can remember, ever since I was a kid, dude. Because he used to be on Mad TV back in the day. I think it was from 2003 to 2008. And I wanted to cover one of his movies, and I think I might as well cover one of my favorites, Nope. Out of all three of his movies, I think this is my favorite one. Honestly, the more I watch it, the more I enjoy it. I love so much about this film, and I know it's deeply analyzed, like to hell and back already, but I mean, I want to take the time and talk about it and kind of show my appreciation for him and what he's doing for the horror genre and this movie. Now, in case you haven't seen this movie, I want to give you a bit of a rundown. So it's about this family that has this generational job in Hollywood of just raising horses and using them for stunts or whatever the movie may require. But they rent out their horses, so they make a living on their ranch doing these types of things. And this isn't much of a spoiler at all because I'm almost positive they showed this in the trailer. Things start to go south whenever the dad dies, and so it's up to the son, Otis or OJ, to take over the ranch and all those duties and try to keep it going. You know, it is their legacy that they even say themselves they've been a part of it since the very beginning. But then everything starts to get worse whenever they have an alien encounter. And a lot of people would think that's the twists and turns. I remember the trailers. I kept watching the trailers for this movie when it came out because I was like, yo, an alien movie, like an alien suspense horror movie by Jordan Peele, who did remarkable things with Get Out, you know, his first directorial debut right there. Amazing. I love that movie. That's a really good movie. Like that one and Nope is like neck and neck. It is super hard for me to try to pick which one's better. I mean, you got Get Out, which has all these great themes, you know, a lot of social like, you know, social statements being made, and the visual storytelling, like it's great. I love Get Out. It is a really, really good film. And then he has Us that I did not like. I watched it the one time and I'm just like, I did not enjoy this movie at all. Like that's and maybe I just didn't get it, but I researched the movie so much. I watched so many like breakdown videos and people talking about it, and I just didn't get it. I didn't like it. To me, there was like so many holes you could poke into it. I just didn't enjoy the film, so unfortunately, I don't like that one too much. So that's like bottom tier for me. But Get Out and Nope is like right there. But the more I watch it, I love Nope. I feel like it doesn't exactly compare to Get Out because obviously like very different topics and they don't really deal with the same like issues. They deal with completely different issues and tackle these very real problems that happen in the real world. But I just happen to enjoy Nope more. I love how it looks. I like the cast. Like I like everything that goes on. He really outdone himself in this one, and it's really hard to pick. But you know, I think Nope comes out on top for me. In my letterbox, I know I gave it like a 4-star review. Thing is, I feel like it might be like a 4.5 or something. I love the movie so much. I kind of wish I had a poster for that when I used to work at the movie theater. Something told me I should have got it. But honestly, this is definitely one of the best modern horror movies. There's a lot of iconic imagery in here that is definitely going to shape the film industry later down the road. People who grow up and start idolizing him and his work and whatever he may come out with afterwards, and start doing homages and stuff. There's so much you can pick from this film that looks beautiful, and it looks like you see something and you're like, that is iconic. I feel like back in the day, I don't know if people could do that, like Stanley Kubrick, John Carpenter, or even Wes Craven. Like, I don't think any of them really knew that they were gonna have something iconic. But I feel like now, like my generation and maybe younger, maybe a little older too, yeah. Like now we're at this point because we know icons. Icons are such a thing, and like the horror community, it's like you see it and you know it. You know, like that's gonna be iconic. Like that, like, oh man, like people are gonna get that tattooed on them. Like people are gonna have like replicas of that or posters of this, or this character is gonna be like put on a pedestal. So many different things. And I feel like there's a lot of that in this movie. I mean, it's already true. I mean, look at me. I'm wearing a Nope shirt. Like check this out. This is a badass Nope shirt. Okay, I couldn't pass this up. It has the horses. It has Jupiter's claim. I love how it has his speech. I'm gonna show you the speech, but I'm gonna have a bit of my midriff in there a little bit. So my bad. What if I told you that today you'll leave here different? I'm talking to you right here. You are going to witness an absolute spectacle. So what happens next? You ready? Are you ready? Like, God, man, like this is so cool. And if you guys are curious of where I get some of my shirts, there's a few companies I follow on Instagram. This one I got from Studio House Designs, and I'll have a link to them down below in the description or somewhere. But yeah, I follow them on Instagram. They're great. They come out with so much stuff. Like, I have so many fucking t-shirts in my closet. I can see them all right now. I even ran out of hangers, okay? They come out with so much cool shit. I can't. Like, yeah, I'm running out of money and I'm running out of room, and then I have way too many shirts to pants ratio and like shorts. It's redonkulous, but I digress. So let me get back to talking about the movie. And I want to talk about the ratings, you know. I mean, and this is something like that kind of sucks as well, and I feel like I can't really trust it anymore. I don't know if any of you heard about the controversy with Rotten Tomatoes, how they've actually had people hire people to boost or to tank ratings of a movie. So now, honestly, Rotten Tomatoes is not very credible anymore at all. And I know it never really was to begin with, but I always thought it was kind of nice to kind of have a gauge. You know, it kind of gave me some a bit of comfort where it's like, oh, I can see what the critics say, I can see what the audience says, but now you can't even fucking trust it, man. Like it sucks. But I know on IMDb it's sitting at a 6.8, which I think it's definitely higher. But I mean, hey, what do I know? I mean, if you're here listening to me talk about the movie, then hopefully you enjoy it. Watch this movie. I highly recommend it. I feel like I don't know anybody who hasn't seen this movie by now. The cast is great. Story is great. Speaking of the cast, you know, I want to dive into them a little bit. I mean, we got Daniel Kaluuya, who is pretty much Jordan Peele's Leonardo DiCaprio. You know, Martin Scorsese, Leonardo DiCaprio, Tim Burton, Johnny Depp. Like you got those, like the dynamic duos, you know, actor, director. That's what this is. And I kind of like that. They do a really good job, and I hope they keep it going. A few of Daniel Kaluuya's movies, which I'm sure a lot of people know, would be like Get Out. He played Spider-Punk in Across the Spider-Verse, and he's going to be in Beyond the Spider-Verse in the next one, which I definitely cannot wait. I'm so glad that all the strikes and stuff is over so we can move forward into that. That movie needs to get done as soon as possible. But I also want them to take their time, make it amazing, and finish it out. I really hope it finishes strong. Each movie gets better. I can't wait for this amazing Spider-Man trilogy. But yeah, I'm getting off topic. Keke Palmer, I really knew her just from like Nickelodeon and some of the Madea movies when she was younger. And yes, I did enjoy some Madea movies here and there. Like, whatever, don't at me. And then we have Keith David, who plays Otis Sr. I mainly know him as Childs from The Thing, one of my all-time favorite horror movies. And I know he used to voice the animated version of Spawn, which was a great show. I've been meaning to revisit it. It's been a long time. Steven Yuen, which I'm pretty sure a lot of people talked about Steven Yuen. I want to go more into him in a bit, but right now, I was like, I just want to get through those. Michael Wincott. This dude, I can always identify by his voice. He has the raspiest, like, voice I've ever heard. Like, deep, raspy voice. And I knew him as Top Dollar from The Crow, and I feel like that's where a lot of people probably know him. I didn't even recognize him in the film because obviously from 94 till like now, yeah, it's, you know, quite a difference, like 20 years. But the moment I heard his voice, I automatically knew who the fuck it was, and I'm like, oh god, this fucking guy is in this movie. And the last one I want to mention is Brandon Perea. I think that's how you say his name. I'm not sure. Brandon, he plays Angel, which was a pretty standout character. A lot of people really enjoyed his character as well. And he's only really done some TVs and some shorts, but he counts this as his breakout role. Like this was his breakout. Like he really considers it that, and like a miracle job. First really big movie break. He's in this amazing horror sci-fi thriller along with Kiki Palmer, Daniel Kaluuya, and working under Jordan Peele, who now has all this hype around him. Like, oh yeah, this is a guy. Like he doesn't miss. Like his movies are amazing. Like he just keeps going. Like he knows exactly what he's doing. So he hit the jackpot. But I want to get back to talking about the man, the myth, the legend, the living legend right now. And I think like his stardom is just going to keep going. I mean, he has so much going on right now. Like as I'm recording this, just a couple days ago, maybe a week ago, Hideo Kojima and Jordan Peele are working together on a very cinematic game together. Honestly, I thought there was going to be a movie or something because they've been hanging out, man, and it's a big deal. I was hoping it would be something Silent Hill related. Unfortunately, it's not, but it's going to be this big thing. I'm excited. There's not much known about it, but I'm thrilled. I'm set. It has both of their names attached to it. I am so in. And if they keep working together, I don't know what could happen. I'm hoping for like an Akira movie or like just some other really amazing horror like movie that is yet to be made, and I'm calling it. I feel like it's gonna happen maybe one day. But Jordan Peele, I had my first dose of him back in the day during Mad TV. It's no surprise to me when he kind of got out of that and started Key and Peele, and that only lasted for like a couple years, but everything was so funny. Like it showed just how creative they can be. And honestly, for Jordan Peele, I think Key and Peele really showed off a lot of acting chops because of how many different characters and scenarios they would pull off. I think it's very underrated, and some of the top tier like comedy sketch shows of all time, they did a great job and they went out on a high note. They ended it themselves thinking, yeah, like we did what we want to do. Like now we want to go off and do other stuff. And it's not like they're done being friends or anything, but they like separated. They want to do their own things, but they're eventually going to cycle back around and probably do something again, like maybe another movie, because they did Keanu before, like the movie with them and a cat. And Jordan Peele has had a fantastic career since. Like he's just been directing movies and killing it and just solidifying his status as an incredible director and storyteller. So there's no telling where the fuck we're gonna go after this. And he's a very humble director too. I love that he's very grounded. You know, he's very boots of ground, because even though I hold him up there in that pedestal, like, bro, you were great. You've always been great, but now I'm seeing you be great in a different way. Him now getting all this attention. I remember this Twitter exchange that happened, and I'll post the picture right here so people can see it. And for those that can, I'm going to read it out to you right here. It's about this guy that tweeted at him. He's like, I know this is a hot take, but at one point, where do we declare Jordan Peele the best horror director of all time? Can you think of another horror director that had 3 great films, let alone 3 in a row? I can't. But he posts a picture of Jordan Peele's movies. You got Nope, Us, and Get Out. Nope at an 88%, Us at a 93, Get Out at a 98. And then Jordan Peele tweeted him back saying, sir, please put the phone down. I beg of you. And then he tweeted again with a gif of him kind of mixed with the dude with the blonde hair, like doing like the slight nod. But he turned around and said, sorry, I love your enthusiasm, but I will not tolerate any John Carpenter slander. That right there. I love that. He didn't let it go to his head or anything. He's like, hold up. There's people out there that are better than me, that I look up to, that I believe are a higher caliber. I genuinely think Jordan Peele can probably reach that status. It's going to take a road, but man, the direction he's going, I think he can fucking do it. But now I want to get into my favorite character from the movie, Ricky Park, or better known as Jupe, which is Steven Yeun's character. Steven Yeun nails this performance. I pretty much like him in anything he's in. And like a lot of people, my first dose of him was The Walking Dead, where he plays Glenn. And I watched up until probably Glenn died, a little after, and I don't know, like it was I couldn't really get into it much after that, but he's been in a few things I enjoy. He was in Mayhem, which is another really good movie, and recently Steven Yuen has been in Netflix's Beef, a show that wasn't even on my radar at all. It was just something I saw advertised. My girlfriend and my mom, we were home. It was all our day off, so we were just hanging out. And we were trying to find something to watch. And so we see Netflix's Beef just plastered on like the front of the page. Like, oh yeah, brand new show, like just debuted today. All episodes are there. And it's just big ass words. Beef. And we're just like, we have no idea what the hell this show is. But we watched it. It was like, you know what? I mean, fuck it. Like we like Steven Yeun, so yeah, let's just check it out. You know, who knows? And man, we had no idea what we were in for. We binged all 10 episodes and it was great. It was very thrilling. It was intense. It was emotional. Man, the emotion, like the acting in this show from him, like it put him on a different caliber in my eyes. One of my favorite scenes from Beef was definitely the fact that Steven Yeun is this character that's struggling and so much is going on in his life. Like he's just having a very, very hard time. And because of his culture and how religious they can be, like his family, they talk him into going back to church because he used to go to church and I believe he used to sing for the church or play in the band for the church. But you know, he kind of fell out of it because, you know, struggles and stuff. So he just decided it wasn't for him anymore. And there's this moment where he's just in church and he's not really buying it. He's just kind of standing there like, oh man, like I'm kind of here, but you see him little by little like, okay, I see other people are really feeling this. Like let go. Like let me just try to be here in this moment and like I don't know, see what happens. And so he's listening into the performance that's going on and they're playing Amazing Grace and such a beautiful performance. It was a great. One of my favorite covers of that song is by The Almost. And while they're singing it, you know, he starts to close his eyes. He starts to like feel and just let these emotions in. And man, he has one of the most intense and emotional like breakthroughs or breakdowns I've ever seen on the screen. It hit me, dude. Like I was choking up. Like when you're trying to like hold back the tears and like you do that like little jump, like you're really trying. I feel like a lot of men know this because we usually try to keep our emotions suppressed. We try to keep it in check. But I was doing that and I was having such a hard time. Like it was such a moment. And I'm not a religious person at all by any means. And I'm cool with anybody practicing their stuff. Every time I see that scene, it gets me super emotional because sometimes you just really want to break down like that. And it was good to see his character going through so much shit, actually, you know, like pulling down like the tough guy facade. Like I gotta fix everything, like I gotta do everything. It's like, man, it was such a relief. It was a beautiful show, beautiful moment. It was, man, it gets me every time. I gotta rewatch it. Going back to Nope and like his character, I love how his character is done. There is so much depth with this character and like tragedy. And I feel like this is probably the most relatable character in the movie, in my personal opinion. Steven Yeun's character Jupe went through something traumatic. He protected himself and misinterpreted the whole situation to kind of downplay it to make himself be like, I'm okay. You know, it wasn't that bad. But in the back of his mind, it's like he knows it's bad, but he's telling himself it wasn't that bad. He felt lucky. It was a miracle he lived through this very terrible incident that got so many other people killed. And in this movie, they talk about bad miracles and like what is a bad miracle. And I believe it wasn't a bad miracle until he turned it into one. He misunderstood what happened to him and he thought he was chosen because he lived and it's like, oh man, like there's more out there. There are plans for me. And which is true, but he went and did the same thing The incident on Gordy's home, which is the show that's in the movie that this incident happened, was they had this chimp as a character, and he unfortunately got startled and just started wreaking havoc on the cast, the crew, the audience. And there was only 2 people left alive, and one of them was barely. Jupe was left alive, but he was traumatized. And then there was this other character who just got completely mangled and mauled, like completely disfigured. And you do see her in the film as well. And it's so bad because he repeats the same thing of trying to tame wild animals. And I feel like that's the overall message of the film, is messing with the natural order of things. Like, you have to understand things are going to go wrong. And so that's what they were doing. They were trying to domesticate these wild animals, and instead all hell breaks loose. They tried to domesticate Gordy. It didn't work. He reverted back to his primal state when he was scared and started killing people, defending himself. And that's the same thing that happens with Jean Jacket. And that's the same thing that happens with Jean Jacket, which is the name of the alien in the movie. He tries to domesticate it, and he thought, oh, like, it's a miracle. Like, I came across this being, this entity, and it trusts me, just like how Gordy trusted him. But he didn't realize he was only lucky because he didn't make eye contact with it. There was this thin veil between them. So he thought he really had things under control because this animal trusted him, but only because he was feeding it. Jupe wanted to get fame and recognition. He wanted to be famous all over again. And the moment he tried, all it did was cause more people to die, his family, even the person who lived through the first tragedy, their lives were finally ended from the same thing. He repeated the cycle. He thought he was chosen to do better, and he just didn't learn the lesson. His hubris got the best of him. And with Nope's character, Jupe, you can definitely tell he is still traumatized from that day. He tries to downplay it, but you'll see moments of him just dissociating from life and just in his own head. And even the park around him, you can see, is kind of themed after that very night. Like, a few things. You got the alien masks. They look a little bit like just misconstrued images of the studio cameras that were there recording the show. You got the staff shirts that are kind of reminiscent of what Gordy was wearing that day. And he talks about how the incident lasted 6 minutes and 13 seconds of just like pure terror. He decides to just use that number and feeds Jean Jacket every day at 6:13 p.m. He hasn't left that day. He didn't grow up from that day. He didn't learn the lesson that the studios definitely learned that day. To not domesticate a wild animal, to not try, do not think you fully have their trust or anything. Anything could go wrong. And that's exactly what happened. He got his family killed, the fans, and one of his oldest friends who survived the attack with them. It's such a sad thing to see happening, and you feel bad because he was obviously this very troubled person, but he tried to get rich off of it. And that's what happens when we just don't learn from our past, man. He just tried to make it into something that it wasn't. And unfortunately, he wasn't the only one that paid the price. You know, it's sad. It's a sad character. And another thing I really love about this movie is the fact that people are smart. It is not one of those movies where the person is like, where the people don't know what aliens are. I know it's a thing, like in the universe of like some movie, you don't want people being like, oh yeah, you know, like aliens. Like you don't want them to get straight to the point, like zombie movies. Everyone fucking knows zombies, vampires, werewolves, all that stuff, ghosts and shit like that. But in that movie, like in that pocket universe, they've never heard of it. It's never happened before. They have no idea what these things are. And it always bugs me. I'm just like, dude, everyone knows. Everyone knows what these things are, man. Like, whenever OJ finally sees something, he automatically knows what it is, how to try to capture footage of it. His sister already gets it. The fucking Radio Shack or Best Buy wannabe guy gets it, automatically believes it and wants to help him out with it and talks about all these theories and stuff. Yes, dude, please do not treat your characters like they're dumb or that like we're dumb. We need more smart movie characters, man. Like, it's okay to acknowledge things outside of that pocket universe exist. People know these things, you know? And I don't mean to undercut Angel's character by saying he was a Best Buy or Radio Shack ripoff. Like, you know, I still really enjoyed his character. He's probably like my second favorite character. He had a lot of funny parts in this film, and I really enjoyed it. Like his commentary, he definitely comes off as a guy that works in retail, that just tells you unnecessary stories sometimes. And I've seen plenty of them. Okay, I don't think I'm one of them. I might be if I actually strike a conversation with somebody and it seems like they're very reciprocating. So yeah, you know, I'll talk about some bullshit with you, you know, whatever. But I love how he goes into the alien theories because he is one of the smart people as well. And he talks about there's three main reasons why they would be visiting. Intergalactic travelers looking for peace, which is possible. I feel like it's never really the case in most alien movies. Futuristic humans coming back to stop us from destroying the planet, or just planetary destroyers. Those are the main theories that most humans believe, and it's the only theories that he names in the film. But the reason we have those theories is because we are self-centered as a species. We used to think like the solar system revolved around us. We used to think the sun revolved around us, and it's like, no, that's not the case. We are just a very lucky ball in the middle of this vast ocean of cold and a lot of emptiness. And I love that it's none of those things. Jordan Peele really subverted people's expectations because I had no idea what the hell we were in for watching this. I'm just like, yo, these aliens are going to be trippy. Because in the trailers, you saw the aliens with a mask in that scene where they're in the barn, which I believe he shot that because he knows, like he wanted to prove like, hey, this isn't what this movie is, but if I wanted to make a movie like that, I can fucking do it. And that whole scene was definitely creepy until Daniel Kaluuya punched a kid in the face, which was hilarious. But he subverted our expectations by making Jean Jacket nothing but a predator, a primal animal that just had a hunting ground, that just wanted to eat. It was just existing, which I feel like is not as bad as planetary destroyers, but it's pretty scary on its own. It is this entity, this animal that there's nothing really any of them could do about it, and that was very good at camouflaging and just eating and not really leaving any sign that it was there to begin with. It was hiding in the clouds, dude. That blew my mind when I saw that. When they pointed out the cloud that just wasn't moving, dude, I thought that was so fucking cool. I'm like, that's creative as shit, man. I love that so much. But in my personal opinion, having Jean Jacket as this very predatory animal was scarier than the movie that he could have made of having just some alien invaders. And speaking of Jean Jacket, I have to go into the creature design, man. Jordan Peele had some amazing ideas when it came to Jean Jacket. I don't know why, but I kind of want to call Jean Jacket a she, and I'm going to roll with it. But the way that she would hide in the cloud just not moving, and how silent everything was, and how it was hunting. How you saw it going from like cloud to cloud. That shit was creepy, dude. That shit was wild. It was blowing my mind because the whole time before it was revealed that it is like the whole thing is the alien, you're just like, dude, this is not the way we've seen aliens act before. Like, this is insane. And then you have these hints of like these screams, like these noises as it's soaring by, going from place to place. It's just fading into the distance and then coming back, fading in and being loud and then leaving again. And you had no idea what it was. You would imagine it's like the hissing or just like afterburner sound. You would think it's some of that, but no. The whole time, it's the victims on the inside of this alien being digested alive, and everyone's screaming. It gives me chills every time I heard it in the film, because after finally getting that answer of what it was, dude, it made it so much scarier. Like, that is a terrible way to die. You're just slowly being digested in this thin, like, digestive tract, and there's nothing you could do about it. And it probably smells terrible. You know, people throwing up, people freaking out, the claustrophobia alone, because it's not like just some tight corridor. No, it is this thing that is like bending with you, all this tissue. So like when you're pushing up against it, it's like bubbling up towards you and stuff, and you're just like covered in slime. It is honestly some of the freakiest shit I've seen in a movie, because it is a terrible way to fucking go, man. He made the creature very Lovecraftian, and I'm not like some book reader, so I don't know a whole lot of like Lovecraftian stuff, but I do find it interesting. So H.P. Lovecraft definitely came up with a lot of cool and freaky shit, even though he's a very troublesome person. He had a lot of really cool creature designs and depictions, like all that's awesome. Like just that universe of things is pretty awesome and very influential to like creature designs, and I think there's definitely some inspiration here. But I know Jordan Peele wanted to make Jean Jacket as scientifically possible as possible. He definitely looked at a lot of marine life, and that's definitely where we start to see that imagery towards the end. A lot of people would try to say angels and stuff, and I know there's a lot of biblical references about talking about spectacle, but it has these same features and capabilities as these animals that live in our oceans, and a lot of them are fucking alien-like. And I like how it does this thing where you always see like monsters or aliens or something, wherever they eat the people, but there's never really any telling of, okay, what about all the material you just ate? Like, does that do anything at all? And you see she actually disposes of everything that's not human, that couldn't be digested. All like the metal, plastic, blah, 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 blah. And you see it early in the film, because that's how Keith David's character, Otis Sr., dies, because he was looking up when things started to fall from the sky, and he looks up and gets a coin in the eye, and, you know, that kills him. Now, the coin death in Nope, and this is something that has happened. Not the death, but it definitely could have happened. I used to work in Islands of Adventure at Dueling Dragons, or a lot of people know in recent years, it was called Dragon Challenge, RIP. When I worked there, we had metal detectors, and it's not in theme with Harry Potter. You were supposed to theme if you worked on this property, so there was no talks of like these types of electronics or anything. But we had metal detectors. We were allowed to bypass that because our ride was dangerous if people were dumb. And a lot of you are very fucking dumb. I hated always sending people back to the lockers, all because they kept cell phones, change, keys, and then people would get mad at me, oh, like, why do we have it? They never used to. The reason they fucking had it then was because somebody was dumb and some shit happened. So if you guys know Dueling Dragons, it used to be these two roller coasters that would go up and around. Like they would get really close to each other. And one day there was a coin incident. Either somebody threw it or it fell out of somebody's pocket while they were dueling. It shot to the other ride, and through the worst luck imaginable to this person, they already lost one eye. So the coin actually hit their good eye, and now they are permanently blind. So it completely blinded this person. And because of that, the dragons never dueled again. So now you would get one that would go, and then the other one would go. They wouldn't start the rides at the same time. Sometimes we would try to do it because everyone wanted it back. That was like one of the main attractions to the ride. So every now and then, some of the people that were in the operating room would kind of try to do it in sync to where we get them going, but it would be like a once in a blue moon thing. Obviously, they didn't want us doing it. But that type of incident is very possible. And it's scary how somebody's defiance towards the rules or just straight up neglect, they can ruin your life, or like something bad can happen. So if you were one of those people that would bitch and moan about metal detectors, go fuck yourself. We were just doing our job so other people can be safe, and that includes you if anything were to go wrong. I obviously got off track because, man, you guys have no idea how often people would argue and fight with us and literally try to fight us, all because we're sending them all the way back down just because they didn't listen to the fucking rules or all the signs posted to have their pockets empty and everything into a locker. Free lockers at that. So it's like, why is that so goddamn hard? But I digress. We're gonna go back to Nope. One of the most harrowing scenes in that movie, and I think it's definitely one of the most harrowing scenes in the movie, is after Jean Jacket sucks up everybody at Jupe's Landing after Jupe was trying to show it off to like a bigger crowd of people instead of just like his family like he was before. This was like his practice before getting a bunch of people to go. And that's what led to everyone dying, even his friend who survived the incident as well. And after that, Jean Jacket comes over to OJ's ranch and they try to capture it on their security cameras and stuff, but obviously they can't because it's interfering with all the electronics. And it regurgitates everything because earlier they had a trap set up for it, so it sucks up this plastic horse and it got stuck in his digestive tracts. So it eventually just regurgitates like everything. And it's this beautifully terrifying moment where Jean Jacket, it's raining outside and Jean Jacket is there hovering over the house and you see all the rain not hitting the house, but just the outsides, the edges. And then out of nowhere, Jean Jacket just full on blows chunks everywhere. And this house is just covered in so much blood. And then all this material and belongings just start to fall onto the house. It was definitely quite a moment. I love that scene. It's definitely scary. And I tried to do some research and it looks like 48 people died in this movie, not counting the horses or anything. And speaking of the horses dying, the only one that lived was called Lucky. And I feel like that might be like a hint towards like just like a little nod, like, oh yeah, luck, you know, this whole thing, just like how Jupe was lucky to be alive. The one that lives is called Lucky. Like I think that's a little something. I could be reaching, but I don't know. I just think that's quite a coincidence. And there were some really cool technical aspects about this film, how they shot day for night. They shot during the daytime, but then they color corrected everything to be dark and to look like nighttime. Once you actually look at it after knowing that, so if you're watching this and you haven't watched it in a while, or you're listening to this, watch it again and you'll see some of the nighttime scenes where it's like the lighting is perfect at night. Like the lighting is so good. Everybody's well lit, the shadows, and you're thinking, damn, they must have had the fullest fucking moon out that night because it looks amazing. And I know I was all over the place talking about this movie, but man, this movie is just great. I love this movie. I'm so excited to see what else Jordan Peele does. Because every time I watch this movie, it's like I remember why I like it. And I love the opening text that they have in this movie. I will cast abominable filth upon you, make you vile, and make you a spectacle. I love that. I've never heard that before. Like I said, I'm not a religious person, so obviously I've never read the Bible or anything like that, but man, I can't lie. Biblical shit goes hard sometimes, okay? Some of the stories, the art is some of the most beautiful art ever in the fucking world. And sometimes their quotes just go really hard, man. But like that one is so good. And my girlfriend is a big fan of like cathedral art. So like stained glass is beautiful. And then you have the whole Sistine Chapel. Very, very beautiful imagery. Religion can be very fascinating. Of course, what's usually wrong with religion is the people that follow it. Sometimes they're not great, and that's just how it is. But you got some good people. There's definitely some pros and cons. And I'm not a very knowledgeable person when it does come to religion, but a lot of people talked about how there's very many religious themes, which I definitely believe they're there, especially opening with such a line like that. But I'm not really aware of any. So if anybody knows any, please tweet them at me, make a comment, something. Like I want to know what's something that was pointed out. And I love that there's two different ways you can look at Nope. There's definitely some religious aspects that people have talked about. I haven't really seen any other than the opening scene and maybe the end with the creature design. A lot of people would say, oh, it's very angelic, and there's probably some other imagery, but that I'm not really aware of. But I see it from the other standpoint, which is very much a logistical, scientific like specimen. Like this is not an angel. This is a creature that's very natural and working its way into the food chain and the natural order, even though it's probably not meant to be there. And depending on the person you are and your views, You could see it as a very scientific based film, which the creature was definitely designed after marine wildlife, but you could also see it as faith based, where it's definitely angelic. But it all depends on the person you are and the images that you see and what you take away from it. And I think that makes a great horror movie. And I don't know if I've ever talked about this on the podcast, but I definitely had my own run in. I remember vividly because I felt extremely terrified when this happened. But I remember years ago when I lived in Port St. Lucie, Florida, I was walking around outside of my driveway. I was on the phone with a friend, and I'm just walking around, just like how you normally do. You when you're on the phone, you're walking around doing random shit. So I was just pacing back and forth, and I remember just looking up at the stars because I didn't live in as big of a city as Orlando then, so you could actually see stars. And I was just looking up, and out of nowhere, I just see like this trail, and it zips like that. So definitely not a shooting star. I thought, oh man, like I saw a shooting star. I've only seen like maybe two in my life. But no, the moment I saw it like curve, and there was some clouds, but it looked like way in the distance. Not like, oh yeah, it was here on Earth. Like, no, I could just see it. And it like zipped, and it was just a faint light. And man, I was stunned. I was looking up like, oh my God. And I went inside. That's how terrified I was. My heart was like beating, and I'm just like, no fucking way. Like, I just saw that. Like, no way. Obviously, I knew nobody would believe me because I've always been like the sci-fi nerd and stuff. So I always believed aliens existed, conspiracy theories, like Area 51 and all that stuff. I was into all of that. So I was deeply convinced, like, holy shit. I just saw something. It's like it blew my fucking mind, man. Like, God. It was fucking great. But it was definitely something, man. It was really something. But before I go, I still got to give you guys your cookies fortune. This might be the last one of the year, so I probably won't have another podcast come out until January. Not really sure what it's going to be, but we'll see. Tune in. Please leave a review. Please share with your friends. It'd be nice to kind of get some numbers up next year. It's going to be great. I'm definitely going to be pumping these out more often. So please, by all means, I really appreciate the love. But here we go with your cookies fortune. Joy is what happens to us when we allow ourselves to recognize how good things really are. Do with that what you will, ladies and gentlemen. And until next time, be excellent, be kind, subscribe to the podcast.